I could not be more happy to be the person introducing First Book and the incomparable Kyle Zimmer. It is really due to her great graces that we are here today, because a group of us kind of ragtag book bank, book access people came to her saying, "We want to do this thing. We're not sure how to get it off the ground. Will you be our sponsor? Will you be our mentor? Will you support this? We like you. We think you're friendly." And we like First Book. Most of us use First Book for some in some way in our organizations. Kyle has been doing this for a long time. She's highly accomplished. She's on the Forbes Business Council. She's part of the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship, and she's a real person. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Kyle, and to introduce this whole session.
Of course, the first thing I need to say is flattery will get you everywhere, Emily. So thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And the main thing I want to open with is just how great it is to see everybody's name. I know I can't see everybody's faces, but so many of you, your organizations, I've certainly been not just aware of, but a huge fan of for years and years. And many of you personally, I'm looking at you, Joe, Joe Bedard, who have just been colleagues and friends and soldiers in the same army for all these years, doing such great work. It really takes my breath away to see your organizations lining up like this. It's completely thrilling. I think it marks one of the most extraordinary turning points in the effort to increase access to books that I can ever remember. And I'm getting old, so I remember a lot, but I can see the momentum and the dedication and commitment, and it's completely thrilling, you guys. So I am deliriously happy to be with you today. I know that we have a couple of slides, and I can do a quick overview of a few things, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Maggie Osborne, who will get to the depth of the presentation.
Kyle, I think you can, let me see how I share my screen.
You should
Emily,
probably do it. Yeah.
can you give me
Have
permission?
access.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Technology is great when it works, isn't
I
it?
know. Ta-da.
Ta-da.
Everybody see my screen, I hope?
Yeah.
Yay. Awesome. Okay. So there she is.
Here I am. Yes, it's thrilling. There's a photo of me. We can move on to the next. We've been at this work, as many of you have, for more than 30 years, and we're proud of what we've built. You can see some of our headlines here. This was always the brag slide that my mother always loved to see. So we're sharing it here with you today. The most important thing about these numbers is that, number one, we built First Book from the very first day to support everything that was going on locally. We didn't start by building a tutoring program or a library-based program. What we recognize is that there are extraordinary heroes at work in communities all over the country. And here you are lining up. And this is exactly what we've spent 32 years working to build, is a way to support the people who are working on the front lines. And so, yes, we've accomplished a lot, but today, as I said, this marks a brand new day for the whole field. And First Book wants to build right there with you so that we're behind you, elevating what you can do for all the kids and families and teachers who are depending on you and others. So these are the headlines. We can go to the next slide, I think. And this is really just that from the first day I heard from Emily and Amy and others about your goal of putting NBAA together, we recognize that our goals are completely aligned and that we are stronger together. We have market force that we can flex our muscles together to push the publishing industry, our friends, I will say, to push our friends in the publishing industry to elevate the relevancy of the books that we can make available, to decrease the price, and we can do this more and better because we will control a bigger market share, and also to try to build collective purchasing software and systems that will enable us seamlessly to support what's going on locally for you guys. And we'll be working hand in glove with you to do that. I think that Maggie, you are presenting the basic design of First Book, I believe.
Yes.
So I will leave that to you, but let me just encourage you to listen, of course, to Maggie, who is leading the charge on our work with the nonprofit sector across the United States and Canada, and also to reach out to me personally. Don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions. We really want to build this together. We want to do everything we can to support you guys. So bravo.
Great. So are you all still seeing the slides? Yeah, I'm not either. That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to try that one more time. Let me go back in and see if that'll pick it back up. And it's not. Okay.
We're going to have to revert to hand puppets here in a minute.
I am gonna revert to hand puppets, which is totally fine, and I will send you all the slides. But good afternoon. It's nice to meet you all and see this, as Kyle described, you all this beautiful collection of do-gooders and troublemakers, which is the company I always like to keep. I'm Maggie Osborne, and I am a relatively new member of the First Book team, working with the Diverse Books Coalition and the not-for-profit partners group. So I'm here to really give you some updates about the Diverse Books Coalition. I realize that in many ways, some of the things I'm going to be saying today, I'm speaking to the not only the choir, but the conductors. But I'm going to just try and give you as many updates as I possibly can. So one of the things that's a big secret, which won't be after I tell you guys, because many of you who are members of the First Book Coalition and members of First Book will be excited to know that there are some resources that have been shared with us from the Early Childhood Buffett Foundation to continue the work of the coalition as we go forward, which is so exciting. I know there have been a lot of folks out there trying to make magic happen. And so we got some sparks, which is fabulous. And I think it will continue to lead to some more energy and some more investment and excitement about our joint work together. We are still moving forward to 130,000 book distribution. Thank you so much. Whoever figured out how to do that, thank you. You know, Kyle said it before, even with the very specifically the Diverse Book All In, but Diverse Books for All Coalition, obviously the alignment is spectacular, and that we as a united front will be able to do more. We are moving. Can I move these slides? No. There you go. So we've got 50 plus members of this coalition, and we're in a moment of transition in the 2.0. We are going to try and really grow that, because as Kyle said, one of the things that is important for all of us is, for many of you all who are community-based or networks or smaller organizations, the ability to leverage all of our muscles, our reach, our advocacy, and our buying power to really move some things. So that's one piece of it, and it's a huge piece of it that we hope that will, in the coming years, as we begin to evolve with the coalition, that we get even more power behind that movement. But there's also this other piece around our joint value systems and the way that we want to advocate for the field and the development of a national narrative. And that is going to be the ongoing work in partnership with all of you of the Diverse Books Coalition to keep that beating that drum, sounding that horn, and really making people pay attention and elevating the stories of the work that you all are doing across the country, of the work that children and families are asking us to do on their behalf, as well as their schools, their places of recreation, worship, and other places all across the sector towards our great end. So next slide, please. So these continue to be the goals of the coalition. It's about increasing, number one, bottom line, increasing the number of quality, affordable books out in the world that are diverse, that are mirrors and windows to who we serve and who our country is, quite frankly, and the world. To unify the market, to frame and elevate that national narrative, and to really ensure that everybody has access, hence our partnership. So next slide. So I started to say that this is where the momentum is right now with the Diverse Books Coalition. There's 130,000 books that have been purchased that are on the way. I cannot wait. I'm dying to be on the ground when those books start to hit communities. So I think it will be an amazing moment. We've gone with 18 different titles. There are 18 coalition members that have been part of that first book, and we're working towards a bilingual book purchase that will be coming out hopefully in the spring, and so more on that. But those are sort of the momentum of tangible things that are happening. Among others today, some of you, I know you didn't see it because you were here and doing the conference, but when you go back onto YouTube, because we had our first story read aloud with an author that is getting a lot of excitement and media today. So hopefully you'll go back and enjoy that afterwards. So next slide. So one of the things that I want to make sure, and I need your help in this, is that you all as our allies and our partners, and many of you as our members, really have a full frame of the network and make sure we share it with other people. I think that there's been an assumption that a lot of what First Book does and the things that we offer are available really focused on educators, which is true. But they're also for practitioners. They're also for organizations within your network that are volunteer-led. Anybody that is serving children and families that come from, majority low-income households are eligible for membership in our network. And so I put a whole list on the bottom of this because I think that this has been a little bit lost in the conversation. So I'm asking for your help today to make sure that when you are in your walk, when you are giving books to people, when you're working with colleague organizations, that you spread the word about the opportunity and the possibility of First Book and becoming part of this really powerful network. And there's a link in there to do that. So next slide. So this is why. Yes, it's because we are providing books, we're getting books out into the world. It's a hugely important piece. But that narrative, that elevated voice, and the power of that network is really what the engine is and what the difference is about an organization like First Book. And that is that there are 575,000 members, and it's the largest community like that anywhere. The really important piece about that is it enables us to talk directly to all of you who are doing the work, to teachers who are in classrooms immediately, and to hear what you are saying. We are listening to you, we are calling you, we are reaching out to you to engage you in elevating the needs, the data, the research, the advocacy, everything that you are doing. And so we're using the network as a means to be able to do that. That is the engine for the change that is happening, that is also happening at First Book. So next slide, please. The research and insights work that we do is in connection with that. I know that you all have seen, and if you haven't, please go back and look. This is one example that is so relevant to the work that we are doing, but it was part of a research and insight project that was done with 1,500 teachers that came out of our member network, that we elevated a survey and information data collecting for them about this impact of banned books. And it went a long way to adding to and elevating that national conversation about why the work that you do and the work that First Book does is so incredibly important to the future of this country. So members, research and insights. So next slide, please. So we have other things besides books. And I think most of you know that, but if you don't, the resources that are available for free, the tools that are available to use, not just in classrooms, but in after-school programs in the community. So making sure that when you're talking to folks who are coming to you for books, if they're teachers, if they're folks that work in the not-for-profit sector, in churches, synagogues, they're volunteers, make sure that they know that there's so much more about First Book that will be helpful to them, and that we want them as part of our network so that we can include their voices in everything that we are talking about and the things that we are doing research on. Next slide. Hopefully you've all seen this, because this is our song, our music. This is our song sheet. The Diversity, Inclusion, the Stories Project for All is a special collection and space that we hold at First Book on our marketplace to ensure that these books are getting out and across your communities that you care about in the ways that are meaningful. We take great pride in having one of the most incredible groups of people, of talented, skilled people who are curating these collections, who are experts in their field, probably finest group of people to be doing this anywhere that we know of, that are really doing this, as well as all of the other things that you will find on our marketplace. But I just wanted to call your attention to this as well. And hopefully we will see this continue to grow and provide new books, bilingual books, books that really, offer something for everybody that we're trying to serve collectively. Next slide. So these are some of the other kinds of tools that if you haven't seen it, go deeper into the website, into the marketplace to be really looking at these kinds of resources that are out there. There's a lot of work that we're doing with the United States Holocaust Museum. And it occurred to me, I as a volunteer and thing would love to have had more resources that would have enabled me and my not-for-profit to be able to host these conversations with the kids or the folks that I was serving. So I want to make sure that you're not just thinking about these as strictly educators in classrooms, but in all the places and spaces where we're trying to get diverse books and diverse conversations happen. And that's part of the materials we create from the accelerator. Go ahead, that was good. You're good. So I think my final message before we have some discussion is really about how much stronger we are together. I think Kyle has said this in every conversation around this I've been in about how none of us can do anything alone. That it is the fiber of us woven together from which we become strong enough to be heard, to withstand some of the battles and the things that come across our bow, especially right now. Kyle is worn and weathered from 32 years of fighting a battle that everybody thinks is new. It's not new, and it will never fully go away. There will always be a piece of this battle that we will have to fight, but I'd like to do it with no other group than the folks that whose faces I'm looking in across the screen. So we're very proud of this partnership. We think that we have much more to do together. We think that you bring incredible reach, expertise, passion, and talent to this conversation. So I just really look forward to getting to work with more of you and figuring out better ways to do the work we do. Any of you who are on this conversation who are not members of the Diverse Books Coalition, please join us. Or not members of First Book, for goodness sakes, please join us. Let's figure out how to make this better, stronger, longer. So on the next slide, I just have contact information and things. I hope that this deck can be shared with all of you and posted on MBA's website so people know who we are, know where to find us, and can figure things out. So with that, if you want to take down the slides and we can have a conversation, and Kyle's still here. So if you have specific questions for Kyle,
No math questions. Emily asks or reminds us on the chat to mention that it is free to join First Book. It is free to join the Diverse Books for All Coalition. No charge, no expectation, we want everybody involved and engaged, but There's no gotcha on any of it.
Right.
This is all about, you know, locking arms with each other.
And I will say one of the things, as for those of you and anybody who's on this call who's a member of the Diverse Books Coalition, I welcome to chime in. But like any coalition, and you know this or you wouldn't be on this call and involved with NBAA, it is the networking, it is the connection to others in the conversation and gaining resources. I think in my 30 plus years in the social purpose sector, there are very few times I ever started something from a blank piece of paper. I have started it always with other people's resources and thinking and great thoughts, or checked my own against them, or forwarded. People used to call me the traffic cop because I would just get stuff in my inbox and send it out. I'd be sort of like the spider, right? That shared resources. And that's what's so valuable, right? And that's the generosity and the spirit of the sector in which we work that makes us stronger to do that. So yes, please, free. Free is good. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or you can just unmute yourself and ask, I think, unless Emily's going to yell at me and say I'm causing chaos, but that's how I like to go.
No, not at all. I think that we can just take questions from anybody if you wanted to raise your hand or if you just want to unmute. We've got 74 participants right now watching us, which is
Yay.
awesome. I will just, Maggie, could you get into brass tacks a little bit? Let's
Sure.
say that an organization wants to order, 1,000 books from you. How would they go about doing that?
So the first thing that they do is they go onto the marketplace and register as a member, because you need to be a member to be able to engage in that conversation with us. And then there's an inquiry. Sometimes you can actually just do it right off the marketplace. But if quantities get to be larger than that, there's always member services folks that you can talk to. That's the best way to do. They'll figure out what is the best way to help you and get you 1,000 books, whatever that means. We do have bulk orders that we do. They're even larger than that. Right now, they're at 10,000 books as a minimum, which is an enormous amount of books for a lot of people. We're working on, so right now we have the Great Marketplace, which hundreds of books,
Actually,
lots of titles.
thousands and thousands of titles.
Right, thousands and thousands of titles.
Yep.
So the quantity
Great
question
range.
is one that our member services team would love to handle with everybody.
Okay, we've got a question. Could you
Yes.
explain the
Mhm.
difference between your first book marketplace and your book bank from a business perspective?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So the book bank is how we started, and it still exists, by the way. And we recognized when we started all those years ago that the publishing industry, as all of you know, is a consignment-based industry, and so that means there's a lot of inventory when it doesn't sell, comes roaring back to the warehouses of the publishers. And before we invented the book bank, what happened was publishers did what they could to provide those books to organizations. But the problem is that if you were, I'll make up an example and say, if you're running Simon and Schuster Children's, you would get 20,000 requests annually for sometimes 8 books about dinosaurs, in a church basement, right? And even the people who would love to respond to every single one of those, and most of the publishers, as you know, they love books as much as the rest of us, they would try, but it was almost impossible for them to manage that whole sector. So we recognized that years and years ago, and we built something called the First Book National Book Bank that handles, on behalf of the publishers and to make them available to all of you and to the First Book community, very, very large quantities of the unsold but new and undamaged inventory with publishers. Those books are available on our marketplace site. We don't charge for the books that are contributed to us. We don't charge for the books, but we charge a shipping and handling fee to cover and it varies, but let's say it's 85 cents or something like that per book. It's right in that neighborhood. And it's just to get the book into your hands, right? So that's the contributed. And that was also because we knew if we could crack that nut with the publishers at the national level, that it would result in a very strongly increased flow of contributed inventory. So, and it was really designed 100% to increase that flow, and do it at very low cost. The purchased inventory is what you see for where we realized, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, that if we went to the publishers on behalf of our community, and welcoming you guys all, if you're not part of it, but into that community, we would be able to go in and negotiate in a very different way on behalf of a large market share. So we went to the publishers and basically said, look, the way you price books, because you have to factor in the risk of return and marketing costs and customer acquisition and all of that, if we can knock all of that off the table just for this group of individuals and institutions, just for the people serving the base of the economic pyramid, then we would propose that we will purchase on a non-returnable basis large quantities of books that we select that are often front list, that are often award-winning. And when you say non-returnable in a negotiation with the publishing industry, choirs of angels begin bursting into song, right? And so we proposed a very different business model to them. And those books, the last time I looked at the average cost on our site, run about $480. I mean, it's up and down depending on, is it a hardbound book? Is it, it changes depending on a lot of factors. But the baseline or the average is about $485, including shipping on those books. And we work really hard with an in-house curation team that is second to none to make sure that those books are exactly the kinds of books that you guys in our community need and want. And we have become the largest specialty buyer for most of the major publishers in the US and Canada. And so we want to grow that together with you because, if we're all holding hands, you can bet that the price goes down and the relevancy goes up. So I hope that is enough detail. This is one of the parts of my job that I love. So I can talk to you until you have to clear your weekend calendar, but I will stop there.
That's great. We only have a couple more minutes. Does anybody else have any questions?
I just want to say thank you to First Book for being the heartbeat of Capital Region Literacy Council for 20 plus years. And thank you to Kelly and Amy and Emily and whomever for arranging this. This, like Kyle says, this is another amplification of the mission. It's like this energy that we're passing and the excitement that it creates with the teachers and the families and the children. And as Kyle said, when he came to visit us one time, when you create a new reader, the likelihood that their future generations will be readers is pretty much guaranteed. So in a generation, the whole game will change. So good luck to all.
Well, right back at you, Joe, my dear friend. It's great to see you, even if it's just on camera.
Kyle and Maggie, there was a number that was going, somebody's got a question about the First Book grant opportunities.
It's me
Can you tell us
again.
about that?
Hi, Kelly.
It's okay. Kelly.
I'm an annoying
Use
kid
a
who's always
different
like,
name,
I have a
Kelly.
question.
Use an alias.
So,
I know it's ridiculous. And this might be an off conversation, but we had a grant opportunity from a local First Book group, and it's always stagnant or stale, and we never knew the terms, we didn't know who to talk to. I called your office one time, this was several years ago, and they were like, we have no idea who to put you in touch with. And so is that a myth? Do those people?
that is not a myth.
What's happening?
And this
First
is
of all,
why
that sounds perfectly executed.
it's not a myth. This
It's
is
not your
also why
fault,
I put
though.
my
It's not your fault.
This is also why I put my personal email on the last slide.
Yeah.
Because I know, having spent my life in this kind of work, is that, it's hard to find the door. I'm offering a window, and that I'm the window. So, and I'm the traffic cop. So we do. So we work really hard to figure out ways to provide opportunity, to get more books out, to get grants for books. We've done some grants through the generosity of the Kellogg Foundation and now Buffett through the Diverse Books Coalition to help offset some costs. We have an incredible team that works with corporations around the country who love and work with First Book, who offer often gift certificates to be able to go in the marketplace and purchase books. We'll continue to do that. We have just done a really great model in Philly with the generosity of the Penn Foundation to be able to work with a coalition of local groups to do grants for diverse books. First Book is committed to continuing to do that, to figure out how to find and leverage resources in a way that activates lots of folks around this work. And so you will, I hope, it is my hope as a new First Booker who's now sort of focusing on this in a significant way in terms of creating this partnership between people who are providing books, who are working community, who are working in schools and things, and either corporations, foundations, or other funding opportunities that enable that to happen in a bigger way. So we are a not-for-profit, but we are also a social enterprise that is about leverage, right? And we're going to think and continue to think about creative ways to get as many books into the hands of people through you all and through others as we possibly can. And that
And
is the engine that is the membership.
Yeah, and hopefully we will be able to be a connector between this membership and all your efforts. So
Right.
Maggie, I want to hold you to that. And somebody has requested that you actually put your email in the chat because there are some of us who might reach out to you. So, and
I will do
if
that.
you could do that, that would be super helpful right now.
And if I can just drop one single footnote on that, because I heard this data point yesterday, so it's fresh, is that 55% of all the orders that go through the First Book Marketplace are somehow subsidized by First Book at the national level. 55%, because sometimes it's a percentage off, and sometimes it's, if you are spending $20, we'll give you 5, or, like there are all kinds of formulations. That is funded by donors. And we work, to Maggie's good point, really hard to try to push as much money out into the field as we can. But I loved seeing the number 55% because it tells you that we really put our money where our mouth is.
Oh, there's a great little story in the chat from Bright Star Books that said that they were contacted in 2017 and they never applied, but they got some grants. They got some books from you because they were sponsored by an outside donor. And I know we got an Oh My God grant from you, Oh My G, and that was amazing to us. That was
It's Oh My
incredible
Goodness.
for us.
It
at
was.
So
Books Fund.
that's the joy, right? It's for us to find that sweet spot in those moments of opportunity where we all get to celebrate and do what we love and get books out. So,
And so
we're
I will
committed to
second
continuing to do that.
to say, sign up for the network, because that's how you find out about
That's
these
how you find
opportunities
out.
and what's
Exactly.
going on. Because, these people are very dynamic. They're doing new things all the time and they're taking advantage of opportunities. So if you think you know First Book because you looked at it 2 years ago, it is not the same First Book that it was 2 years ago. So keep on being involved with that. I do want to wrap it up because we've had a long day today.